In the countless taverns and temples of the material plane, frightened mortals speak in hushed whispers of demons and devils, often using the terms as if they mean the same thing. This casual conflation represents one of the most dangerous misconceptions in all the multiverse. The distinction between these two breeds of fiend is not merely academic, it is the difference between chaotic annihilation and methodical enslavement. Where demons seek only to destroy, devils intend to own. They do not simply wish to end civilization, they mean to purchase it, one soul at a time, through contracts written in blood and enforced across eternity. The devils of Baator represent something far more terrifying than raw destructive power. They embody the principle of lawful evil taken to its ultimate extreme. Every action a devil takes is calculated. Every word spoken serves a purpose. Every contract offered contains hidden clauses that ensure the mortal signer will eventually forfeit not just their soul, but the souls of everyone they love. This is not the mindless slaughter of the abyss. This is premeditated cruelty, refined over eons into an art form so sophisticated that even the gods themselves were outmaneuvered by its greatest practitioner. The supreme architect of this infernal system is Asmodeus, the lord of the ninth hell, who sits bleeding at the bottom of a wound in reality itself. His blood transforms instantly into perfectly loyal warriors. His intelligence dwarfs that of most deities. His patience is measured in millennia, and his greatest triumph was not won through violence, but through the most brilliantly constructed legal argument in the history of creation, an argument so flawless that the gods of law themselves could find no counter to it. To understand devils is to understand that power in the nine hells comes not from strength alone, but from position within an impossibly complex hierarchy. A pit fiend with the authority of an archdevil's command can overrule the wishes of a more powerful devil who lacks such backing. This is a society built on contracts, on station, on the careful observation of protocol. It is a machine designed for a single purpose, the systematic corruption and harvesting of mortal souls, and it has been operating without interruption since before the current age of the multiverse began. This exploration will reveal the true nature of these infernal beings, their mythological origins in the Pact Primeval, their biological adaptations and supernatural abilities, the bewildering variety of their specialized forms, the nightmarish geography of their home plane, and most importantly, the godlike archdevils who command them. These are not simple monsters to be defeated in combat. They are the immortal enemies of all mortal free will, and they have already won more victories than any hero could count. The contracts have been signed, the blood has been spilled, the nine hells are open for business, and every soul in existence is a potential customer. The true genesis of the devil race is recorded in the most consequential theological document in planar cosmology, the Pact Primeval. This ancient agreement between Asmodeus and the gods of law established the legal framework that allows devils to operate throughout the multiverse. Without understanding this pact, one cannot comprehend why devils behave as they do, nor why the forces of good have proven unable to stop them. In the earliest epochs of creation, when the gods of law first brought order to the churning chaos of the multiverse, they immediately faced an existential threat. The abyss, that infinite realm of pure entropy, spawned demons by the millions creatures of such ravenous hunger for destruction that they threatened to unmake everything the gods had built. In response to this crisis, the lawful deities created champions. These were beings of pure order, majestic warriors with shining wings who could fight the demonic hordes without succumbing to fear or corruption. The greatest of these angelic defenders was Asmodeus, who personally destroyed more demons than any other being in existence, deity or otherwise. The war against the abyss stretched across eons. Battles were fought in dimensions that no longer exist, across planes that have since been reduced to cosmic dust. And slowly, inevitably, Asmodeus and his company of elite warriors began to change. They had studied their enemies too well. They had learned to think as demons think, to anticipate their strategies, to adopt their tactics. Physical transformations followed the mental ones. Wings that had been feathered and white grew leathery and dark. Perfect features twisted into something more fearsome. Fangs emerged, tongues forked. They wreathed themselves in hellfire, using the weapons of chaos against chaos itself. When the gods of valor finally noticed these changes, they were horrified. They convened a trial, intending to cast out these corrupted servants. But Asmodeus, whose intelligence had never been in question, delivered a defense so perfect in its legal construction that the gods found themselves trapped. He argued that he and his followers had never broken the law, they had upheld it. They had done exactly what they were created to do: destroy demons and protect the works of law. If the methods had grown harsh, if the appearance had grown terrible, these were necessary adaptations. The gods could not punish beings for succeeding at their assigned task. To do so would be to break their own laws, to embrace chaos themselves. Faced with this unassailable argument, unable to lawfully banish their dark champions, the gods withdrew to begin a new project, the material plane and the mortal races that would inhabit it. These mortals were given something unprecedented: true free will, the ability to choose their own paths without divine compulsion. It was intended as the ultimate expression of law, tempered by good. But free will came with a terrible price. Mortals, curious and ambitious, inevitably discovered forbidden magic. They opened portals. They summoned demons. The pristine worlds the gods had created became battlegrounds once more. Asmodeus approached the weeping deities with a solution. He and his dark angels would relocate to a realm specifically designed for punishment. There, they would torment the souls of wicked mortals, creating a deterrent so terrifying that the living would think twice before embracing evil. The suffering of the damned would protect the innocent. The existence of a place of ultimate punishment would reinforce the gods' laws more effectively than any sermon. All the gods needed to do was grant Asmodeus the authority to claim the souls of those who fell into sin, and to operate his realm without divine interference. The gods, desperate to protect their mortal children from demonic incursion, agreed. The Pact Primeval was signed. The 9 hells of Beator came into existence. And Asmodeus, in a gesture of profound symbolism, cast himself down into the deepest possible depth of his new realm. The impact of his fall tore a spiraling canyon into the floor of Nessus, a wound in reality called the Serpent's Coil. At the bottom of this incomprehensible chasm, Asmodeus sits on his throne, still bleeding from that ancient descent. Every drop of his divine blood transforms instantly into a maximum strength pit fiend, perfectly loyal, ready to defend its creator. This is the price Asmodeus paid for his victory: eternal suffering in exchange for eternal authority. The fundamental difference between devils and demons extends far beyond mere alignment. These two breeds of fiend represent opposing philosophies carried to their ultimate extremes, and their eternal conflict, the Blood War, is not simply a territorial dispute, but an ideological struggle for the very nature of evil itself. Demons act entirely on impulse. Even the most powerful demon lords, those who command armies and forge alliances, remain fundamentally creatures of the moment. A demon with a 1,000-year plan will abandon it instantly if offered the chance for immediate slaughter. They throw themselves into battle with suicidal enthusiasm, caring nothing for strategic withdrawal or tactical positioning. When demons encounter mortal souls, they do not corrupt them, they simply destroy them, consuming their essence in an orgy of violence that leaves nothing behind. This is evil, as pure destruction, as the heat death of all order and meaning. Devils operate from an entirely different calculus. A devil thinks, schemes, refines the scheme, considers contingencies, and only then takes action, and only if the circumstances guarantee maximum reward for minimum risk. Violence is a tool, not an end in itself. When a devil enters combat, it constantly evaluates whether continued engagement serves its interests. The moment the risk outweighs the potential gain, the devil withdraws, even if victory might still be possible. This is not cowardice. It is the ruthless efficiency of a creature that thinks in terms of centuries and millennia. This philosophical divide becomes most apparent in how devils and demons approach the corruption of mortals. A demon appeals to base passions, rage, lust, the thrill of destruction. The corruption is immediate and obvious. A mortal who falls to demonic influence becomes a raving monster, useful for one final act of violence before being discarded. Devils, conversely, appeal to reason. They offer contracts that seem advantageous. They provide real benefits in exchange for commitments that appear manageable. The victim signs willingly, convinced they have made a shrewd bargain. Only later, often after death, does the true cost become apparent. The devils do not oppose the forces of good out of ideological purity. They fight goodness because it interferes with business. Where good is strong, where communities are virtuous and laws are just, mortal souls become difficult to acquire. They must be tempted with greater care, offered more attractive contracts, approached with more sophisticated arguments. But where good is weak, where corruption has already taken root, souls practically offer themselves. A devil does not hate righteousness, it simply finds righteousness inconvenient, an obstacle to efficient harvesting operations. This same calculating approach governs devil behavior in the Blood War. Demons fight because fighting is their nature. Devils fight because the Blood War serves multiple strategic purposes. First, it prevents demons from spilling into other planes in overwhelming numbers, which would render those planes worthless for soul collection. Second, it provides a proving ground where devils can advance through the ranks by demonstrating competence. Third, and most cynically, it gives the Archdevils a convenient justification for military buildup, for the creation of new devil forms, for the stockpiling of weapons and resources that might someday be turned against each other in the endless political games of Baator's aristocracy. Every devil possesses an innate understanding of contracts and hierarchies. A lemure, the lowest form of devil, is too mindless to comprehend complex agreements, yet even it understands rank and responds appropriately to authority. As devils advance through the forms, this understanding deepens until the greatest of them, the Archdevils themselves, can construct contracts so Byzantine in their complexity that mortal lawyers studying them have gone mad trying to find the escape clauses. These contracts are not merely magical compulsion. They are philosophical arguments, legal structures so perfectly crafted that breaking them would require the victim to violate their own fundamental nature. The vast majority of devils belong to a specific race designated by planar scholars as the Batezu. This term distinguishes the true hierarchical devils from other infernal entities that inhabit Baator. The Batezu function as a single, monolithic civilization governed by a caste system of terrifying rigidity. Authority within this system derives not merely from personal power, though power certainly matters, but from designated station within the official hierarchy. A weaker devil with the proper credentials and backing can command a stronger devil who lacks such official standing. All Batezu share certain physiological traits that make them supremely adapted to their infernal environment. Complete immunity to fire allows them to move freely through the volcanic regions of multiple hell layers. Total immunity to poison renders them invulnerable to one of the primary weapons mortals might think to use against them. Beyond these immunities, Batezu possess profound resistance to both acid and cold, allowing them to operate in virtually any hostile environment. These defenses are not magical in nature, they are fundamental aspects of Batezu biology, impossible to suppress or dispel. The Batezu possess telepathy as a species-wide trait, allowing instant communication without the vulnerability of spoken words. This telepathic network extends to their ability to summon reinforcements. Any Batezu can attempt to call others of its kind, establishing a magical link that pulls additional devils to its location. The exact mechanics of this summoning vary by rank and circumstance, but the principle remains constant. Batezu are never truly alone. Every devil encountered might be merely the advance scout for a much larger force. Perhaps their most unsettling adaptation is their vision. Batezu can see perfectly in any darkness, including magical darkness that blinds even creatures with natural dark vision. They perceive their environment in conditions that would leave mortals utterly helpless. This creates a profound tactical advantage in the lightless depths of Baator, but also in the material plane, where devils can extinguish all illumination and then hunt their victims with perfect visual clarity. The language of the nine hells reflects their civilization's nature. Infernal is an elegant tongue, utterly suited to accounting, record-keeping, and legal documentation. Where abyssal is a harsh, chaotic language that inflicts pain on mortal vocal cords, infernal flows smoothly, its grammar structured to create unambiguous meaning. Contracts written in infernal contain no accidental loopholes. Every clause means exactly what it says, which makes the hidden traps within such contracts all the more damning. They are there in plain language, waiting for the victim to realize what they have actually agreed to. However, the most powerful devils speak something far older and more rarefied. Mabrahoring, also called High Infernal, is the archaic dialect of the original fallen angels. Only the Lords of the Nine, the Dark Eight, and certain unique fiends possess the ability to speak this language naturally. Lesser creatures are physically incapable of learning it. Their minds lack the necessary framework to process its grammatical structures. Even magical comprehension provides only translation, not true understanding. When an archdevil speaks in High Infernal, they are making a statement about their status, reminding all who hear that they are fundamentally superior beings. The Batezu advancement track follows a well-established path, though exceptions exist. At the absolute bottom crawl the lemur's mindless, bloated blobs of tormented flesh that serve as the entry point for most damned souls. Through centuries or millennia of suffering and service, a lemur might be promoted to imp or nuperibo. From there, the path leads upward through increasingly powerful forms: bearded devil, barbed devil, bone devil, horned devil, and finally, pit fiend. Each transformation is granted by a superior as reward for exceptional service, and each comes with new abilities and new responsibilities. Yet Baator contains numerous devils that exist outside this standard hierarchy. The Abishai serve as the draconic spawn of Tiamat, the evil dragon goddess who maintains a palace in Avernus despite not being a true devil herself. Abishai advance through their own color-coded ranks: white, black, green, blue, and red, each color representing increasing power and status. They almost never transition into the standard Batezu forms, maintaining their draconic nature throughout their existence. The Aperobos represent something truly nightmarish, swarms of thousands of diminutive devils created by the Archduke Baalzebul specifically for possession purposes. When an Aperobos swarm engulfs a mortal victim, the tiny devils physically burrow into the victim's flesh. They infiltrate the nervous system, threading themselves through muscle and organs until they achieve absolute control over the body. The victim remains conscious throughout this process, trapped within their own flesh, as it moves and acts according to the swarm's collective will. The horror of this fate has driven strong-willed mortals to madness within minutes. The Narzagons serve as elite infernal cavalrymen, riding nightmares or dire boars across the battlefields of the Blood War. Unlike other devils, Narzagons are crafted from a specific type of soul mortals who exhibited blind, unquestioning obedience to evil superiors during life. These souls maintain much of their mortal appearance, though twisted into something profoundly sorrowful. To look upon an unmasked Narzagon's face is to confront pure existential despair given physical form. This vision inflicts a baleful hallucination, forcing the viewer to experience their worst fears made manifest. Many warriors have been paralyzed by this effect, frozen in place while the Narzagon rides them down. The Caliban represent accidental creation rather than deliberate design. When Malagard, the Hag Countess who once ruled the sixth layer, was destroyed, her massive corpse began to rot. From this putrescent decay, Caliban spontaneously generate devils born from the decaying flesh of a unique entity inheriting fragments of her malice and power. They infest Malbolge still, reminders that even the death of an archdevil creates lasting consequences. Beyond the common soldiers of the Nine Hells exist specialized devils designed for specific functions within Baator's vast military and bureaucratic machine. These entities represent refinements of the devil form, adapted to excel at particular tasks that range from espionage to torture to soul collection. The Amnizu function as the bureaucrats and inquisitors of the Nine Hells. These devils appear as gaunt humanoids with pursed, disapproving faces and an aura of officious authority. They specialize in extracting information from captured mortals, applying sophisticated torture techniques that leave no mark on the body but shatter the mind. Their most feared ability manifests through a simple touch. When an Amnizu makes physical contact with a victim, it can completely erase specific memories, leaving gaps in the victim's consciousness. Prisoners interrogated by Amnizu often emerge with no recollection of what they revealed, making it impossible for them to know what secrets they betrayed. Assassin devils, known formally as Dogai, serve as the Nine Hells' answer to the need for quiet elimination. These devils possess solid gray skin that allows them to blend into shadows, and their faces are locked in a permanent bone-white smile that creates an unsettling contrast. Dogai are expert infiltrators, capable of moving through mortal society while gathering intelligence on high-value targets. When they strike, they possess the supernatural ability to call forth thick banks of fog that obscure the assassination from witnesses. By the time the fog clears, the Dogai has vanished, leaving only a corpse and confusion. Bone devils, or Ossiluths, stand 9 feet tall with skeletal frames that belie their considerable strength. A venomous scorpion tail extends from their spine, capable of delivering poison that induces supernatural fear in addition to physical damage. These devils serve as the internal police force of Baator, ruthlessly monitoring other devils for signs of disloyalty or incompetence. An Ossiluth possesses the authority to interrogate any lesser devil, and its reports to superiors can result in immediate demotion or destruction. This makes them among the most hated devils in the hierarchy, though none dare oppose them openly. Chain devils, called Kaitans, represent pure sadism given form. Rather than clothing, Kaitans wear animated chains that writhe across their bodies like serpents. These devils delight in torture for its own sake, and they possess a unique magical ability that makes them particularly dangerous in certain environments. Any loose chains within 20 feet of a Kaitan, whether hanging from walls, lying on floors, or worn as jewelry, can be commanded to grow razor-sharp blades and lash out at the devil's enemies. In the torture chambers of Baator, where chains are omnipresent, Kaitans are nearly invincible. The Araignées present a stark contrast to the monstrous forms of most devils. These warriors resemble statuesque humans or elves of flawless beauty, with powerful wings that retain their feathered nature. They are the direct descendants of the original fallen angels, maintaining more of their celestial appearance than any other devil form. Each Araignée carries a composite longbow and a magical rope designed for capturing flying enemies. They serve as elite airborne cavalry, patrolling the skies of Baator and pursuing escaped souls. Many mortals have met their doom because they assumed an approaching angel was there to save them, only to realize too late that the beautiful winged being carried infernal contracts instead of divine mercy. Harvester devils, or Falxigon, specialize in the delicate art of soul collection. Unlike the brutal soldiers who take souls by force, Falxigon prefer diplomacy and negotiation. They appear to dying mortals offering final bargains, presenting contracts that promise comfortable afterlives in exchange for service terms that extend into eternity. These devils protect themselves with powerful wards that prevent mortals from attacking them unless the devil initiates hostilities first. Additionally, Falxigon create illusory doubles of themselves, ensuring that even if violence does erupt, the attacker is likely striking a phantom while the real devil escapes. Hellcats, designated by scholars as Bezakira, exist as one of the multiverse's cruelest jokes. These infernal felines are composed entirely of blinding light and fiery sparks, resembling mobile flames in the shape of great cats. Logic would suggest they are most dangerous in darkness, where their light would reveal them. The opposite is true. Hellcats possess a supernatural defense that renders them completely invisible in the presence of light. The brighter the illumination, the more perfectly hidden they become. This allows them to stalk prey in brightly lit areas where victims feel safest, lunging from apparent emptiness to tear out throats with teeth of solid flame. Legion devils, called Maragon, serve as the heavily armored infantry of Bahator's armies. They march in formations thousands strong, each one equipped with identical weapons and armor. What makes them truly dangerous is not individual power, but their magical coordination. When Maragon fight in each other's presence, they share a supernatural battle link that allows them to coordinate with impossible precision. They move as one organism, creating shield walls that advance without gaps, striking in perfect unison to bring down powerful enemies through pure, synchronized violence. The Nuparibo represent the lowest point a devil can reach without being destroyed entirely. When a devil fails its master badly enough, it might be demoted into this pathetic, bloated form as punishment. Nuparibo are completely blind and deaf, stripped even of the basic senses that other devils take for granted. They navigate through a close-range supernatural sense that detects living creatures nearby, stumbling forward to attack anything they perceive. Watching Nuparibo swarm mindlessly across a battlefield serves as a powerful reminder to other devils of what failure costs. Pain devils, or excruciarchs, feed on suffering in a literal sense. These devils gain power when they inflict physical damage on their victims, growing stronger and faster as the combat continues and their enemies weaken. An excruciarch facing multiple opponents becomes increasingly dangerous as the battle progresses, accelerating toward an inevitable conclusion where the devil has become too powerful to stop. Conversely, pleasure devils, the Brachina, operate through seduction rather than violence. These sophisticated tempters target the righteous servants of good deities, using charm and enchantment to corrupt those who should be most resistant. A Brachina considers it a personal triumph to turn a paladin from their oaths, transforming a servant of good into a servant of evil through carefully applied temptation. Spined devils, or Spinagons, serve as scouts and spies, despite being among the smallest Batezu. These gargoyle-like creatures bristle with razor-sharp spines that cover their bodies. In combat, Spinagons pluck these spikes from their own flesh and hurl them at enemies. The spines magically ignite upon striking a target, combining piercing and fire damage. A group of Spinagons can fill the air with a rain of burning projectiles, driving enemies into cover while larger devils move into position. The Zerfel Styx haunt the banks of the river Styx where it flows through Bahator. These massive beasts appear as bloated amphibians, covered in thousands of tiny suckers that drain blood on contact. Their most dreaded ability manifests as a breath weapon, a cone of boiling blood mixed with Styx water that sprays over enemies. This mixture not only corrodes flesh, but physically erodes memories. Victims find themselves forgetting their own names, unable to remember why they came to Bahator or who they were before the attack. Many who survive Zerfel Styx encounters emerge as empty shells, their personalities dissolved along with their memories. Finally, the Hellfire engines represent the ultimate fusion of infernal magic and mechanical engineering. These juggernauts are forged from cold iron and animated through bound devils, creating war machines that scorch the battlefield with gouts of hellfire. They serve as mobile siege weapons, deployed when the forces of Bahator need to break fortified positions, or simply demonstrate overwhelming destructive power. The 9 Hells of Bahator exist as the ultimate expression of premeditated cruelty structured into physical geography. This plane consists of 9 distinct layers, each positioned below the previous like steps, descending into an ever deeper pit. The layers fit together with geometric precision, like puzzle pieces designed by a malevolent mathematician. Despite its alien nature, Bahator possesses normal gravity and time, making it perversely familiar to mortal visitors even as its landscape induces madness. The river Styx flows through the uppermost layer of Avernus, its mind-destroying waters cascading down in massive waterfalls that connect the layers. To drink from the Styx, or even to be splashed by its waters, invites the erosion of memory and personality. Yet the river serves as a primary transportation route, with devils who have developed immunity ferrying passengers across its deadly surface. The primary inhabitants of Bahator fall into 2 categories. First are the devils themselves. the Baatezu and their various related forms, who have shaped this plane to their specifications. Second are the soul shells, the evil, ambitious mortals whose souls found their way to Baator after death. These damned spirits manifest as ghost-white shades, humanoid in shape but translucent and ephemeral. Devils cruelly mold these soul shells, forcing them into degrading shapes, twisting them into forms designed to maximize suffering. The process continues until the soul's essence is utterly broken, at which point it becomes a lemure and begins the long climb through the devil hierarchy. Each layer possesses its own character, its own particular form of torment. Avernus, the first and most accessible layer, serves as Baator's primary military staging ground. Massive armies gather on its blasted plains, drilling for the eternal blood war. The sky burns with a perpetual crimson light that never fades to darkness or brightens to day. Dis, the second layer, features a single massive city of iron that shares the layer's name, a sprawling metropolis of fortifications where Despater's paranoid defenses ensure that every street could become a killing zone. Minauros, the third layer, consists of shallow, foul-smelling swamps where buildings slowly sink into the muck. The mysterious worm of Minaros lurks in these waters, a 50-foot serpent with bone plates covering its body and a head that resembles a titanic archdevil. Scholars debate whether this creature is a unique monster, a punishment inflicted on some ancient entity, or perhaps something that should never have existed at all. Phlegethos, the fourth layer, embraces volcanic activity on a scale that would destroy mortal worlds. Lava flows run like rivers between mountains of obsidian and basalt. The heat reaches levels that would ignite ordinary air, yet devils walk casually through this inferno while soul shells scream in the flames. Here, Belial and Fierna maintain breeding pits that produce hellhounds so ferocious they rival even Asmodeus's personal war dogs. Stygia, the fifth layer, presents the opposite extreme, a frozen ocean dotted with icebergs, each potentially harboring dangers. Levistus himself remains trapped within the largest glacier, a towering mountain of ice that dominates the layer's geography. Despite his imprisonment, his telepathic commands reach across Stygia, directing his servants in their duties. Malbolg, the sixth layer, exists in a state of perpetual geological chaos. The layer's substance constantly shifts and slides, with avalanches of stone and soil crashing down slopes that reform even as they collapse. Navigation becomes nearly impossible, as landmarks disappear and reappear in different locations. The layer itself seems to resist habitation, as if the death of Malagard inflicted a wound that refuses to heal. Maladomini, the seventh layer, showcases Balzabul's impossible perfectionism. Magnificent cities of flawless mathematical design dot the landscape, each one abandoned because it failed to meet its creator's standards. These empty metropolises serve as monuments to futility, perfect in every detail yet deemed worthless by the Lord of the Flies who built them. Swarms of infernal flies infest every structure, a physical manifestation of Balzabul's curse. Cania, the eighth layer, presents cold so intense it transcends temperature to become pure agony. Running glaciers carve through mountains of ice older than mortal civilizations. In the center of this frozen wasteland stands Mephistar, Mephistopheles' citadel, fashioned from blue-white ice that cannot melt. Here, the Archduke conducts his arcane research, developing new forms of magic that will give him advantages over his rivals. Nessus, the ninth and deepest layer, serves as Asmodeus's personal domain. The serpent's coil spirals downward through this layer, its depth so profound that even magical scrying cannot penetrate to its bottom. Asmodeus sits on his throne in these deepest pits, bleeding eternally while conducting the grand strategy that governs all of Baator. The very atmosphere of Nessus presses down with the weight of pure, distilled evil, making it almost impossible for non-evil creatures to function. At the apex of this horrific hierarchy sit the Archdevils, unique beings who wield power comparable to lesser deities. They scheme against one another in political games that have continued for longer than most mortal races have existed. Each Archdevil maintains elaborate networks of spies, assassins, and corrupted mortals who advance their agendas. The balance of power shifts constantly, with alliances forming and dissolving as circumstances change. Bel rules the first layer of Avernus despite being widely regarded as the Pretender by his fellow Archdevils. Originally a pit fiend who ascended through exceptional military success, Bel lacks the ancient pedigree of most Lords of the Nine. He wields a massive greatsword that burns with infernal fire, and he has proven his tactical genius repeatedly in the Blood War. Yet his position remains precarious. He constantly seeks alliances with Beelzebul and Mephistopheles, offering military support in exchange for political backing, but both Archdevils rebuff him. Bel understands that he holds Avernus only because Asmodeus allows it, and that his tenure could end the moment a more useful candidate emerges. Dispater commands the second layer from his massive iron tower, a structure so heavily fortified that it has never been breached. This Archduke embodies paranoia raised to an art form. He trusts no one, suspects everyone, and maintains multiple redundant security measures for every aspect of his domain. Dispater appears as a refined, elegant devil clad in regal finery, carrying a rod of office that functions as a rod of rulership, a magical item that compels obedience from those who fail to resist its power. His primary goal is the complete downfall of Beelzebul, his bitter enemy. He pursues this objective by allying with Mephistopheles while continuously strengthening his defenses, ensuring that when the inevitable betrayal comes, he will be ready. Mammon rules the third layer as the ultimate patron of greed and lust. He appears as a massive pit fiend, draped in silks and jewels, every inch of him radiating avarice. Mammon possesses an eloquent tongue that can make the most obviously bad deal sound advantageous. His touch inflicts an uncontrollable urge for wealth, causing victims to fixate on acquiring treasure at any cost. Yet Mammon is universally distrusted by other Archdevils because he shamelessly betrayed his former allies Dispater and Mephistopheles to Asmodeus at the end of an ancient rebellion. This betrayal secured his position, but ensured his eternal isolation. Mammon rules his dismal swamp realm alone, surrounded by wealth that brings him no genuine allies. Belial and his daughter Fierna jointly rule the fourth layer in a partnership that disturbs even other devils. Belial serves as the patron of domination and secrets, while Fierna embodies fire and pain. Together, they command legions of bearded devils and maintain the hellhound breeding pits that supply war dogs throughout Baator. The exact nature of their relationship remains ambiguous and troubling, with rumors suggesting depths of depravity that even the Nine Hells rarely witness. Levistus presents one of Baator's greatest paradoxes, an archdevil who rules his lair despite being imprisoned within a glacier. He appears as a pale, dark-haired figure resembling a human, with coal-black eyes and pointed teeth. His silk clothes remain perpetually sodden with ice melt. The exact circumstances of his imprisonment remain unclear, with various legends suggesting he was punished by Asmodeus for murdering the Lord of the Ninth's consort, or that he deliberately entered the ice as protection from enemies, or that his imprisonment serves purposes mortals cannot comprehend. Regardless of the cause, Levistus continues to rule Stygia through telepathic commands that reach across the frozen layer. He grants spells to warlocks and clerics, trades in secrets and information, and schemes toward eventual freedom. Glacia, the daughter of Asmodeus himself, commands the sixth layer after the destruction of Malagard. As Asmodeus's sole offspring, she occupies a unique position in Baator's hierarchy. Her appointment to Archduke status was met with suspicion by the other Lords of the Nine, who wonder whether she serves as her father's agent or pursues her own agenda. Glacia specializes in corruption through subtlety, tempting mortals with bargains that seem almost fair until the final clause reveals itself. She maintains a personal interest in contracts involving creative works, claiming ownership of mortal innovations and artistic achievements in exchange for inspiration. Beelzebul commands the seventh layer while suffering eternal punishment for ancient rebellion. Once an angelic archon of Celestia named Triel, Balzabul fell from grace and was quickly promoted through devil ranks due to his military prowess. However, he eventually led a rebellion against Asmodeus that failed catastrophically. As punishment, the Lord of the Ninth transformed Balzabul's formerly angelic body into a hideous, rotting, slug-like form covered in flies. Known as the Lord of the Flies, Balzabul's relentless drive for perfection manifests in his construction of mathematically flawless cities throughout Maladomini. Yet he abandons each one shortly after completion, deeming it inadequate despite its objective perfection. This compulsion may be part of his punishment, a curse that prevents him from ever finding satisfaction in his achievements. He despises Mephistopheles with particular intensity and constantly plots elaborate schemes for his rival's downfall, though these plots consistently fail to achieve their ultimate goals. Mephistopheles rules Cania as the undisputed master of infernal magic. He appears as a 9-foot-tall, crimson-skinned devil with bat wings and curving horns, draping himself in flowing black capes that create a dramatic silhouette. He wields a 3-pronged ranseur in combat, though his true weapon is arcane knowledge. Mephistopheles maintains vast libraries in his ice citadel, accumulating magical research from across the multiverse. His greatest invention is Hellfire, a white-hot, corrupt form of energy that burns so intensely it ignores natural immunities to fire. Creatures entirely immune to normal flames still take full damage from Hellfire, making it a weapon that circumvents one of the most common protections. This discovery has made Mephistopheles the most magically dangerous of all Archdevils, and he continues his research in hopes of developing even more powerful variations. He allies cautiously with Dispater against Balzabul, though both Archdevils understand their partnership will last only as long as Balzabul remains their primary threat. Asmodeus, the king of the 9 hells, dwells in the deepest pits of Nessus, ruling as the undisputed master of all Baator. He serves as the patron of might and oppression, the ultimate architect of corruption throughout the multiverse. In battle, he wields the legendary Ruby Rod, an artifact of incalculable power and value. This scepter functions as a weapon of devastating potency, dealing massive damage while simultaneously delivering inflict critical wounds, spells, to anything it touches. The rod projects 150-foot lines of lightning that can arc across entire battlefields. It launches 300-foot lines of acid capable of melting through magical protections. It generates massive cones of supernatural cold that freeze enemies solid. Beyond these offensive capabilities, the Ruby Rod grants Asmodeus access to the Reverie of Nessus, a power that manifests as an impenetrable wall of force surrounding him. This barrier cannot be dispelled or broken through any mortal magic. While within the Reverie, Asmodeus is automatically purged of all diseases, poisons, and unwanted enchantments. Simultaneously, his wounds heal at an accelerated rate, restoring him to perfect health. This makes him effectively invincible in any conventional combat, as he can simply activate the Reverie whenever threatened, emerging refreshed while his enemies exhaust themselves. Yet Asmodeus's true power lies not in magical artifacts, but in his intellect. He is the being who argued the gods themselves into a corner, who constructed a legal framework so perfect that even deities must honor it. Every contract signed by a devil anywhere in the multiverse ultimately serves Asmodeus's interests. Every soul harvested increases his power. He plays games where individual moves span centuries, where pieces include entire civilizations, where victory is measured in the fundamental nature of reality itself. The other Archdevils plot against one another, forming and breaking alliances, jockeying for position and influence. Asmodeus allows this because their conflicts serve him. While they focus on each other, he pursues objectives they cannot comprehend. Some scholars suggest he seeks to ascend to full godhood. Others believe he pursues the complete domination of the material plane. A few radical theorists propose that Asmodeus is actually winning the blood war deliberately, slowly, because the war's continuation serves purposes mortals cannot grasp. Whatever his ultimate goal, Asmodeus remains patient. He has already won victories that will shape reality for eternity. The Pact Primeval gives him legal claim to any soul that meets the contract terms. The 9 Hells process thousands of souls daily, each one transformed into another soldier or consumed to increase infernal power. The system operates with mechanical efficiency, and Asmodeus designed every aspect of it. To engage with the devils of the 9 Hells is to play a game where the house wrote the rules, controls the dice, and wins even when appearing to lose. From the mindless lemures that swarm in their millions, to the memory-eroding breath of the Zerfelsticks, from the specialized horrors of the assassin devils to the godlike power of the Archdevils, the legions of Baator represent an infinitely adaptable military and political force. They are organized, they are patient, they are ruthless, and they are winning. Mortals who believe they can outsmart a devil, who think they can find the loophole in an infernal contract, fundamentally misunderstand what they face. These are beings who have spent millennia refining the art of corruption. They know every argument mortals might make because they have heard those arguments countless times before. They understand mortal psychology better than mortals understand themselves. When a devil offers a contract, the terms are exactly as described, which makes them more dangerous, not less, because the victim cannot blame deception when the consequences arrive. The 9 Hells will continue operating long after current civilizations have crumbled to dust. New mortal races will arise and fall, kingdoms will flourish and collapse. Through all of it, the devils will remain, waiting patiently for the ambitious, the desperate, and the foolish to sign their names in blood. The ledgers of Baator will forever be balanced, and at the bottom of the serpent's coil, Asmodeus will continue bleeding, each drop of his divine blood transforming into another perfectly loyal soldier. Another piece in a game that has no ending, only an infinite number of moves remaining to be played.